It started with a scream, loud, sharp, echoing through the corridors of St. Mary's Girls' Hostel. A senior girl, Patricia, stood outside the bathroom trembling. "They're gone again," she shouted. Her used sanitary pads had disappeared, for the third time that term. It wasn't just her. Over 10 girls had complained, but the hostel matron dismissed it as ghost stories. Mary Girls High School was the pride of the city, a prestigious all-girls boarding school known for excellence and elegance. But beneath its perfect image, something strange brewed. Every week, girls from yellow and blue dorms complained to the matron about missing used sanitary pads. It wasn't once or twice, it had become frequent. "We're not crazy, Ada," the dorm prefect shouted. "Someone is stealing our pads." The matron, Miss Clara, was now getting scared, but no one was laughing. Far from the school, the name, Darlington Gray, a 30-year-old billionaire, was spreading across Lagos like wildfire. Just 3 years ago, no one knew him. Now he drove luxury cars and owned nightclubs and tech firms. He donated money to schools and even sponsored scholarships. And somehow, no one knew how he got rich, not even his closest staff. Melissa was the quietest girl in Mary Girls High School, always smiling, never late, always helpful. Everyone liked her, especially the teachers. She shared a bunk with Linda, the outspoken one who never missed drama. But behind Melissa's soft voice was a secret no one could guess. Each visiting day, a tall, sharply dressed man would arrive in a black Jeep. "That's my uncle," she always said, smiling. It was Mr. Darlington Gray. Nobody suspected a thing. At night, when the hostel lights went off and snoring filled the room, Melissa crept from bed, walking across the dorm barefoot. She'd slip used sanitary pads into a black nylon bag, then tie it up neatly. She stored it inside her locker, until visiting day. No one knew where it went. Not yet. And no one knew the blood inside those pads fed the fortune of a demon in designer suits. Linda began noticing things. Whenever pads went missing, Melissa always looked too calm, too unaffected. Linda would watch her from the corner of her eyes. She never caught her red-handed, but something about her movement felt off. Then came the day Miss Sharon, a young teacher who lived in the school quarters, invited Melissa and another student, Joyce, to help her babysit her newborn one Saturday. She'd told them, "Stay indoors, just play with the baby." Miss Sharon returned later to a clean room, a fed baby, but something was off. The bag of her used sanitary pads she kept on top of the wardrobe to burn later was missing. She was sure. She searched. Nothing. She asked Joyce. Nothing. But Melissa only smiled and said, "We never saw anything like that, Ma." Miss Sharon didn't believe her. She knew what she kept. She just didn't know why it was gone. By Monday, the hostel was restless. Rumors flew. Someone in the school was collecting blood-soaked pads. Why? No one knew. The school proprietress, Mrs. Daniels, called an emergency assembly. "This nonsense must stop. We will search lockers, bags, everything." Matron Clara, backed by 2 female teachers, began random locker checks. They found nothing suspicious. Melissa had cleared her tracks. Then came visiting day. Linda skipped lunch and watched Melissa, and what she saw chilled her blood. Melissa slipped out of the hostel with a nylon bag. She walked past the crowd and into a black Jeep, straight into the arms of Mr. Darlington Gray. Linda crouched behind the wall, phone in hand, recording everything. She zoomed in. The man Melissa called Uncle was the famous Darlington Gray. He took the black nylon, smelled it, smiled darkly, and handed her a fat envelope. Linda gasped too loudly. Melissa turned. She didn't say a word, but her eyes were cold. That night, Linda told her closest friend everything. By morning, Linda was sick, vomiting, hallucinating. By night, 2 other girls fell ill. Then one died. The school plunged into panic. Matron Clara wept. "God, what is happening to these girls?" Mrs. Daniels called in pastors. Prayers began. But the darkness was real. Everywhere Melissa went, sickness followed. And yet, she smiled like nothing was wrong. But the walls were closing in. Linda's video remained saved, and someone else was watching. In just 1 week, 6 girls had fallen terribly sick. 2 died. The doctors said it was a virus, but no one believed that. The school invited security agents. Padlock checks were conducted. Still, Melissa smiled. One teacher finally whispered to the school proprietress about the missing pads in her quarters. Another teacher shared how she'd seen Melissa with a strange man. Suddenly, everything began to make sense. Linda, recovering slightly, called her mother and sent the video she recorded. Within 48 hours, it was forwarded to a private investigator. He confirmed it. The man in the video was the famous Darlington Gray. And Darlington Gray had been on a silent watch list before, suspected of cult-related activities, but no proof until now. Melissa was summoned to the hall during the evening prep. The matron, 2 police officers, and Mrs. Daniels stood waiting. "Open your locker!" Inside were dozens of black nylons, some fresh, some rotting. Students screamed, teachers wept. Melissa dropped to her knees and began to beg. "He said he'll make me rich," she cried. She was arrested. In the station, she confessed to everything: the visits, the exchange, the blood. Mr. Darlington needed the blood of young girls, and pads was the easiest source. 2 days after Melissa's execution, police stormed Mr. Darlington's mansion in Banana Island. The found rooms lined with ritual symbols, drums, and hundreds of used sanitary pads stored in sealed boxes. He was immediately arrested and taken to court and later sentenced to life imprisonment. Students of Mary Girls High School recovered slowly. The sick girls began to heal. Mass prayers was held. The dormitories were cleansed. Security doubled. No more missing pads. No more unexplainable deaths. But the trauma stayed. Linda was given a scholarship. Her phone video saved dozens of lives. If you enjoyed this chilling story, then please like, comment your thoughts and subscribe to my channel for more African tales that will leave you breathless.